Welcome back, my friends, to the Predictive Playbook. This is Manny's Irish Pub sports betting show where myself and my experts panel of professional sports bettors have accumulated a 33-17 against the spread / money line record. That's good for 67% over the last 16 shows, and now we look here in the 17th show that for more winners. And I stuttered because I realized that the Toronto game has started, and for those that don't know it, that was my 5-unit play over the total. I usually like betting big plays under, but my models and my machine learning stuff said that one of these teams could score 8 runs on their own merit, and that would send the total way over. So now what you can do is take that information and look to play in-game. So if this game starts out slowly, you can have an advantage and not have to pay 9 runs. You might even be able to get 7.5. So as the show goes on here, I'm sure Jesse and Tony will keep me informed of the progress of the game. There's also weather conditions that could bring a halt to it, I guess, right, Jesse? And we hope that doesn't happen. We just want to get it in. It's starting at essentially 2:05 Texas time, so that should get done. So welcome to the show, guys. How was your week so far through 3 days?
It's been a good week for me so far.
Good. How about you, Tony?
Terrible night last night, but we have those. Was on the Celtic Summer League Championship game. They started out great, and then they got destroyed. Astros couldn't score runs for Framber Valdez, and lost outright, and so did my other play was let me look at the board because I should jar my memory. What was it that I really liked yesterday? Beyond that one, it was Washington, Toronto. I was on the losing side with the rookie having his worst outing, I think, because he's been lights out, and I really enjoyed watching him pitch, but he got rocked yesterday.
Just before going any further, I made a mistake saying that it was Texas. I've done so many games today and shows that I'm blending everything together, just like Tony Finn does when it's 1 o'clock in the morning Vegas time. But seriously, the Blue Jays are at Washington D.C.
Yep.
And that's the weather conditions, and hopefully, it's the remnants of the hurricane that came in the Gulf. It's basically what's causing some of the trouble. But now it's not even a tropical storm. It's just showers, and you just don't know really where they're going to, hit and when. But I think, based on what I saw with the weather just now, they should be good. And I just saw the score, guys, but I'm not going to say what it is. So one of you two can, because if I do it, the betting guys are going to say, "You didn't do that, did you?"
Is it 3-0 for Washington already?
Yep.
Is it really? Wow. Well, that's a good start. I really needed Washington to score in this game, so based on the models, that's a really good thing. So that's one thing I wanted to do. As many know, David Behrman of ESPN, he's the deputy editor of sports content on the website, and he's been a guest of mine now for 18 weeks of the PGA Tour, and 16 of those weeks, he's given out very profitable information bets to win bets. 2 of those in the events won. He also gives out top 10s, top 20s, and many of those come through every single week. And then the matchups. So he had a very difficult week, and I believe next week, we'll have the second leg of the FedEx Cup. So I want to give a little background here, and then tomorrow, early tomorrow morning, I'll provide an update to this show, making sure everybody knows what his picks are. So going to that event, we're at the Liberty National Golf Course in North Jersey, And this is a pretty cool event. It's the first leg of the FedEx Cup. There's 3 legs to it. It used to be 4, but now it's a 3-leg event with the winner at the end getting $25 million in cash at the Atlanta Country Club. So it's time for the big boys to really get rolling. The way this works is the finale last week at the Wyndham narrowed down the field to 125 golfers for tomorrow's event, and that's based on the World Golf Rankings. After this event, they will trim it down to the top 75, and then the finale is the top 35. So the guys that are in that that 85 to 90th spot in the World Golf Ratings are going to have to play pretty darn well to make that leap into the top 75. And it gets progressively harder for those guys to keep advancing to get to Atlanta. But nevertheless, anything is possible. And I mean, how many guys are there on the tour that can shoot 63 on any given day? The number's got to be at least 70. Never seen the tour as deep as it is right now. But I'm going to bring up David's picks here on behalf of him, since he was unable to do them with me. Here we are, the best bets for the Northern Trust. And this is website is espn.com/chalk. It's the second article down. And it says Northern Trust, so you can't miss it. And it also has Chris Falica on here and a few other people that offer in. Nothing against them, but I know David's picks win. The other ones probably win too, but I can't confirm that. But his first one here is Colin Morikawa, 18-1 to win, top 10 finish, getting 2-1. He mentions here the 2-time major champion, current FedEx Cup points leader, is still not getting any respect that he deserves. The 24-year-old, fresh off the Open Championship win and T4 at the Olympics, leads everyone in shots gained tee to green. Also, shots gained on approach, is 6th in total and 2nd in greens in regulation and 4th in scoring average. Yet he's still 4th on most of the odds boards, getting a price of 18-1 behind Jon Rahm, Jordan Spieth, and Dustin Johnson. He says, with all due respect to those outstanding golfers, no one is playing better than Morikawa, who finished T4 at the U.S. Open and lost in a playoff at the Memorial prior to his Open win. Only played Liberty National once with a T53 finish. That brings in a question mark, he says, and except he had never played St. George's at the Open Championship, which definitely overrides that question right there. Morikawa actually played in the Irish Open the week before and mentioned when he accepted the trophy at the Open that had he not played that Irish Open, he wouldn't be standing there receiving the championship honor. So Morikawa is definitely one of the guys that is going to be the guy to beat. Rory McIlroy, 22-1 to win, top 10 finish, plus 225. Behrman says, years from now, we are going to look back at McIlroy's 2021 season and still argue if it was a good or bad season. Unless he takes a hold of the narrative in these next 3 events and writes it for us. McIlroy started the unorthodox season with a T8 at the U.S. Open, T5 at the Masters, along with top 10s at the World Golf Championship Concession and API. Had poor performances at the Players. He was cut. World Golf Championship match play in the group play, and Masters missed the cut. Swing change rumors had you wondering when he will win again. He did that the very next week at the Wells Fargo before poor performances at the PGA Championship and the Open. However, he contended at the U.S. Open T7, lost in a playoff for the bronze medal in Japan, and finished with 3 consecutive 66s to climb to T12 at the WGC St. Jude. Another guy here has Daniel Berger, 28-1 to win, top 5 finisher, 6-1, top American, 18-1, first round 3-ball Berger over Scotty Scheffler and Patrick Reed. And these are the type of bets that I will explain on the show early tomorrow morning that I'll do at about 5 a.m. So be sure to look for that one. Paul Casey, 35-1 to win, top 10 finish, 275. Adam Scott makes the list, 40-1 to win, top 10 finish, 350. Matt Fitzpatrick, 50-1 to win, top 10 finish, plus 450. That's actually Chris Falga's pick. Jason Kokrak, 66 to 1, top 20 finish, plus 275. First round leader, 65 to 1 for Jason Kokrak, and I like that. That's a great pizza money bet right there. And I think that's all he has here. So, Patrick Reed, top 10 finish at 4 to 1, and a top 20 finish at 180. Harold Varner the third, top 20 finish, plus 600. And matchups, he likes McElroy minus 105 over Dustin Johnson, and I think that's an absolute no-brainer that will happen. So that's the take from David Behrman of ESPN on the Northern Trust. And I know if I give my picks out on the Northern Trust, these guys are probably going to leave the show or do something even worse to me. Yeah, look who I bring in. See, they avoided the golf intentionally. I just got done talking about the Northern Trust, guys.
Yeah, I'm too early.
No, I'm done with it. You missed it. Do you want me to go over it again?
Please, no.
Anyway, David Behrman is a regular guest on Tuesdays, and he had a schedule this week that was really difficult for him to get it in on with me, so that we were going to try to have him here on the show at 4 o'clock. Even that we couldn't get in. And I decided that, with his permission, of course, I would put his picks on this show. And believe me, he does a much better job than I just did. But he has a lot of them. He always has a lot of them. But 16 of the last 18 weeks, those bets, like I just read off, if you do that as pizza money on each one, I'm confident that you're going to be happy you did. And Rob Veno, Morikawa is his number one pick.
I hear that name almost every week when you guys talk about golf. Morikawa.
He's 24 years old and just an amazing season. Yet on the betting boards, he's number 4 behind Spieth, Rahm, and Dustin Johnson. And of those 4, nobody is playing shots gained tee to green, shots gained putting, shots gained around the green, shots gained overall. Nobody's even close to him.
Didn't he win the Masters?
I like that. No, he won the
He won something
Open.
special, I remember.
No. Wait, hold on a second. I'll bring it up just to make sure I got it right.
My fault, guys. I dragged this segment out.
You did. That's your fault. I think it was the British Open, though.
Yes, it was. The Open Championship. I just wanted to make sure I was right. And then T4 at the Olympics, and leads everyone's shots gained in every single category of those 4 guys, and pretty much the whole field. And he is the FedEx Cup point leader. Theoretically, he wouldn't even have to play this event to get there. But this course was actually, the land was discovered by the former chairman of Reebok. And it was a bunch of empty, abandoned warehouses. And it also was an ammunition dump, I believe, from after World War II. Condemned land. And they got it back to not being condemned land and built a beautiful, wonderful golf course that has tremendous views of the New York City skyline. And it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be a great event. So let's move on. Let's see what I have on the menu now. We got a couple IPAs, I know that. Baseball. I must say this. I wasn't going to mention anything about the Oakland A's after last night, but the news now is that Chris Bassett eventually is going to be okay. But that certainly, I think you all would agree, was a pretty horrifying event. And that's the problem with pitchers. When they release the ball, they're on one leg. And when the ball comes back at them at over 100 miles an hour, it's a scary thing. So apparently the latest, from what I hear, is that he's home resting until the swelling goes down. Then they'll bring him back in for the surgery. And I don't know how long that takes, but that initially was not looking good.
Yeah, I don't know how long it takes to recover from that, but I don't know if we'll see him this year again.
I would think not, Tony. It's the other thing, like unfortunately we see this periodically at the Major League Baseball level, but it happens at every single level. Little League made the right decision with the aluminum bats and got the trampoline effect muted so that the ball would not come off that fast, especially with in-house games. The in-house games are the community leagues. And yes, there are some really good players there, but there's also some players that are there just learning. And you don't need an 11-year-old that has had the early growth and looks more like a 14-year-old hitting hard ground balls at an inexperienced youngster. And I commend them for doing that, because the trampoline effect on the DeMarini bats was getting like golf clubs. But with golf clubs, the gallery's the only thing, and they're on the side. This is 60 feet 6 inches away, and technically less because he was following through, and all pitchers do. And it's I think I'm very thankful it wasn't worse. That's for sure. But the question now is, Oakland has to come back tonight, and I don't care who you are, we're all human beings, and that had to be impacting a lot of them in the locker room. But now they know that he didn't affect the vision, is what the best news is, and that maybe they'll be able to play out the season and for him, in so many words. What games? Let's start with Tony Finn for a change. What Major League games do you see that are on your radar, and specifically, if you could name one of them, we would love for you to break it down. Okay, Rob Veno.
You're muted, Tone. I could read your lips. You said, "God damn
it." It says I have control of his mic, and it shows muted, but he did something where I can't unmute him. Look at him. Look at him. He looks like the kid that just stole the cookie jar. Tony, can you hear me?
He can hear. We can't hear you, dude.
Your mic is not connected, it says on my... What are you going to do? Stand up in your chair and scream from Vegas so we can hear you?
45 minutes worth of a mime show here.
Well, he was on there for a second. All right, Rob, you start us off here.
I'm sorry, Tony Finn. I didn't want to cut you off, buddy, but I'll go while you fix the technical part. I don't know. Where do we want to start? How about, well, first of all, let's go back to what you were just talking about with the Oakland A's, because I thought there would be a pretty decent-sized adjustment in their odds to win the American League, because now their chances of even making a playoff spot aren't really good. Without Chris Bassett, you take him out of that rotation, and there's a little bit of trouble there for that team. And they traded away Jesus Luzardo to Miami, somebody in retrospect that they could use right now, but Starling Marte, has done a real good job for them. But the A's sit still paying off a little bit less than the Red Sox do. A's, I looked a while ago, I saw plus 850 to win the American League pennant, and I saw the Red Sox plus 900. The A's can't be plus 850 anymore. They're lucky if they hold on to not only the position that they're in right now, but I could see teams passing them, Toronto getting by them. We'll see what happens. Of course, Toronto has issues of their own without George Springer, and, of course, without Lourdes Gurriel. I don't know if he played in the field today or not, but last night he didn't because there was no DH. So that's futures board for Oakland. How about the best pitching matchup of the night? Milwaukee, St. Louis, Freddie Peralta, Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty comes back. I wish Tony Finn could talk because he would have something to say about Jack Flaherty, but he comes back and throws 6 scoreless innings against the Royals. Tonight, first 5 innings, you see a 3.5, which is extremely low, usually reserved for games pitched by people like Jacob deGrom, but both of these guys have the capability of shutting the other team out for the first 5. I would look more, though, John, toward the full game here, because I think with Flaherty, You got 6 the first time around, and I mean that was his first start in about 2.5 months, maybe a little more. I think you probably get 6 or 7 out of him, and then the St. Louis bullpen after that. And certainly Freddie Peralta has shown us he's good for 6 solid, and the bullpen's really good behind him. Josh Hader did throw last night. We may be able to see him again here in this one, but I think under 7 in that Milwaukee-St. Louis game is probably a decent bet here. Both teams have been under in this series, albeit only one game last night. Milwaukee is 3 straight unders, St. Louis 2 straight unders. And to me, it looks somewhere in the vicinity of like a 3-2 or 4-2 game. So I would probably look under in the Milwaukee-St. Louis game, expecting a pretty good pitching duel between Peralta and Jack Flaherty.
That sounds pretty good, Rob Veno. I'm going to write that down here. I'm going to try to get Tony didn't come back yet, huh? Well, I'll send him a message here shortly. He just has to plug his mic in. Maybe Las Vegas Chris is listening. You can tell him. All right, so let's move over to Tony Mejia and see where he is going with a good betting strategy for Major League Baseball.
Well, I've got a couple of premium plays up, so I won't share those, but I was looking hard at 2 things. One, we've already seen a big, I think the biggest underdog of the day. Hold on, let me make sure that's correct. No, not anymore. But I guess it started out that way. 3 Bills. The Reds were favored over the Cubs, and the Cubs cashed for the 7-1 win. So if you got on that early, you made 3-1. And there's another game on the board like that tonight with the Tampa Bay Rays and the Baltimore Orioles. And is it a fade of Spencer Watkins? I don't know. I'll ask, because he really started off well. He actually beat the Rays on July 19th, and then he hasn't won since. He's dropped 4 straight decisions. And one of those came against the Rays, where they touched him up for 5 runs. 4 earned over 6 innings. He gave up 6 runs at Boston, but it's tough to pitch in Boston, especially since I believe that was his first time there. The Rays are hitting the ball, the hell out of the ball, but that's too steep a price for me. And then the game that I will break down, it'll be my freebie, but obviously looking at Yankees Red Sox, having seen most of that doubleheader yesterday, and we'll see, weather permitting, the same weather issues that could come into play in D.C., could come into play in New York tonight with thunderstorms and tornadoes and stuff. But if we get that game in, Andrew Heaney.
Tony froze.
Wow.
Lost both Tonys.
Huh. Maybe it's the weather. Huh. Well,
by process of elimination, Jesse.
All right.
I mean, it can't be my bad breath, right?
Rob Veno, you said you like the under in the Cardinals Brewers, right?
Okay, I did.
Yeah.
Tony,
I'm back, but I'll come back to that for my best bet. I wanted to talk Yankees Red Sox, but
okay.
Move on to Justin.
Right.
Okay.
The internet might be spotty.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday's game looked like a great play on the under with that pitching matchup yesterday, and it looks similar today. I mean, it was a 2-0 yesterday. Looks like it could be another pitcher's duel today, but rather than take the under, I'd rather go with the home dog in that one, especially with Flaherty. He looked just great in his first game back there. So I would look at a first 5 innings play, catching a half a run with St. Louis. They were playing quite well before the loss to Milwaukee yesterday. So that's one that I'd look at in that game anyways.
That sounds good. And guess what time it is now? The second most popular segment on the show, other than the PGA Tour FedEx Cup segment.
Oh, it's the John Ryan angle of the day.
There it is. In honor of Joe Ranieri, we have Seattle versus Texas, 8:05 tonight. Marco Gonzalez, a lefty, against Mike Foda-Newitz. I can't say. What is it? Fultonowitz? No, it's
Fultonowicz.
Fultonowitz.
I called him Fultonowicz on the video, but I've heard it pronounced both ways. Fultonowicz. Fultonowicz, isn't it?
It's like sportsreference.com. Let's see what I thought it was like pronounced new, like Fultonowitz, but they could be wrong too, you know? Yeah. I'm going to type his name in here real quick just so we can see.
My money is on Fultonowicz.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, so they say FUL-TA, Fulta, NEV capitalized, Nevich. I must have thought the V was a W. New. Fultonowicz. Hey, I can say that now. Fultonowicz.
I win it.
Been around a while.
Yeah, nobody mispronounces my last name, so I shouldn't mispronounce theirs. Pretty hard to mispronounce Ryan. But anyway, where was I here with my betting angle here? So we're going to bet over with a total of 9.5 or 10 runs. Road team is batting .230 or worse over the last 15 games. Road team starting pitcher allowed no more than 1 run. That's not earned run. That's 1 run, whether it's earned or unearned. In his last start, 139, 78, 64% last 5 seasons. $100 better as 2,735 extra clams in his pocket. Bet the over, and then future consideration. And I think with as long as we keep the nonsense with the launch angle, batting averages are not going to go up. That's why we have 8 no-hitters. I'm not taking anything away from the pitchers. And in my opinion, we have 9 no-hitters because it's not Bumgarner's fault that it was a 7-inning game and a doubleheader that he threw his no-hitter. So as far as I'm concerned, guys, we are having the record right now with 9 no-hitters. I'm going to continue to say 9, and everybody out in the chat room can correct me. But if the team batted .200 or worse over the last 15 games, the over is 10-1-1 for 91%, 71% ROI. So it doesn't apply to tonight's, but that's something I think you should keep in your back pocket for when it comes up. It certainly has been money. And that is the Major League Baseball angle of the day.
So you like the over?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like the ultimate. It's progression. There's regression where you outperform your mean, and then you regress to the mean, and then if you underperform the mean, it should be progressed back to the mean. So this is the perfect situation, and then you see if the team is really batting poorly over a 15-game period under 200, which I just thought of the Mets. I wonder how many times they've come up in this, but it's over 5 seasons. So it's only 13 plays over the last 5 seasons, but most of them have occurred in the last 3 on that 10-1-1 subset.
The road team starter allowing no more than 1 run in his last start was Gonzalez against the Rangers. He went the distance to hitter last Thursday. I broke this game down on First 5, which should be released at some point. So, but Texas has scored 1 run or fewer in 6 of the last 12. So
that's consistent.
Yeah, right.
And so you want consistency in baseball. Like Angel Hernandez last night was behind the plate, and I think it was it this series? Tony,
yeah,
Ben, can you
it started yesterday.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Oh, we hear 3.
Man,
Everybody's nightmare.
All right.
that is awesome.
Hit it, Nightmare.
What are we talking about? I heard we were talking about Fulte. That's how I pronounce it. Fulte.
It's
Fultonowicz.
We can cash.
Fultonowicz.
Yeah.
Got it down. I got it down pat.
I've told this story a million times. Why I never covered hockey is because I can't pronounce all this and I'm Slavic. I'm Ukrainian. I can't pronounce all those damn names. And I probably 15 years ago I was doing a show on. This is back before the internet, before electricity. I was doing a show, and we had to crank our phones while we were talking, and I called Patrick Roy, and they said, "That's it, no more hockey for you, Tony." I said, Is that all I had to do to get a hockey? I'd have done it a long time ago. No, but that's you know.
Well, welcome to the show, Tony. Finn, your mic is muted again.
Did he mute himself?
Now your mic's not connected again.
Wow. He was there.
The good news for Tony about the hockey is everybody's name gets mispronounced in hockey anyways. I think Zach Parise came out after 10 years in his career already and told everybody that they've been mispronouncing my name for the last 10 years.
How about now? Check.
There you go.
Now you're good.
It's the strangest thing. I redid the whole setup, and for some reason it's plugged in. I'm getting a message that says, "Hey, idiot, your mic's unplugged." And then I talk back to him. I say, "No, it's not. It's not unplugged." And
So
then
you got
the
the new
computer
Apple operating system, I see.
The new what?
The new Apple operating system. If it said to you that plug your mic back in, idiot, that's the new Siri.
Oh, well, my Siri is much more politically correct and polite, and she's subservient. She doesn't talk back.
Well, I'll give Tony a minute to get himself together on a play for us, but I'll go back to my Yankees
Okay.
Red Sox thing.
I'm listening. I like to listen.
All right. Well, Andrew Heaney, 3 starts at Yankee Stadium. He's given up 15 earned runs and 8 homers. So clearly that's not going too well. Red Sox lineup is out. It looks solid. Everybody's in it. Yankees lineup is out, and despite Luke Voigt's soliloquy last night about him being a home run champion and all that, he is out of the lineup with Anthony Rizzo back. So with Heaney out there, I think the Yankees have a shot to get some runs off Pivetta, and obviously I think the Red Sox will get some runs off of Heaney. The number is now down to 9.5, but again, as I said earlier before my internet cut out, it looks like there's going to be weather in the area, so maybe we'll get some stalling out. Doubleheader yesterday, so the bullpens were in play. We'll see how healthy the bullpens are for tonight. Obviously a big game, but I think we'll see runs. So that's my best bet for the show, over 9.5, 10.
All right, so over 9.5. Boston Yankees is our first official one. Over.
Do you know who the umpire is, Tony?
No.
Well, it's convoluted. When you have a doubleheader, they have an alternate umpire. Sometimes when they're involved in a doubleheader, it typically happens on the day of the doubleheader where the alternate will come in and serve as a home plate umpire. But it doesn't always happen that way. But long story short, there's Torres and there was Valentine. Both umpires, Valentine was on first base, Torres was on second base in the second game, I believe. So if either one of those were to slide in, it would fit your play. They're both leans and trends are hitter friendly. They're for the most part they're not seasoned vets or tenured vets, so they're graded. But their strike zone's smaller. So I like the play. I kind of like to know the umpire in that situation. But yeah, I like your play.
Yeah, I like it too. Absolutely. So trying to think, Jesse Schull, your free pick was. So I need to write these down.
Sure, like the under, right? Or
Cardinals
no?
first 5.
Cardinals first 5, yeah.
Cardinals first 5.
Cardinals first 5. What was the vig on that? Do you know offhand?
Let me check that out for you.
Plus money.
It looks like.
No, I was going to take the half a run, though.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
plus a half a run.
Okay.
Minus 40, I'm showing.
That'll work.
Looks
Okay.
universal.
Yep. How many totals have reached 14 this year? I don't remember seeing many like it did in Colorado. Jake Arrieta Padres game.
No. Yeah, that would have been. I remember, was it when we were talking about the 11.5? Remember on Monday, the 11.5, I thought was I'm playing over the 11.5, and then all of a sudden, by the time showtime, it was 13. Today we talked about it on first pitch, 14 probably. Vegas Chris came by this morning, and instead of talking football, he said, "Man, look at I got an 8. I got an 8 in the first half, first 5 of this Colorado game." I said, "That's probably still not. They probably better go over." I said, "Arrieta's is pitching, and he can't. He's only throwing about 42 miles an hour now."
It just went over 5-4 in the 5th, and they just scored too.
Whose winning bet was that?
Colorado.
Tony's dancing, but we can't hear him again. 5-4, bottom of the 5th.
I stink on this thing. It's something I'm just gonna have to. I've got so many more shows today too. It didn't happen until I logged into some golf stuff, and I started freaking out. I was listening to golf again, so I started messing with my knobs, and here we are.
Can't imagine what show that might have been. So we have a pretty lively chat room here again.
What's that?
We have a pretty lively chat room again because, tomorrow is the first round and it wouldn't be a show without Max on Record blasting Meathead, which is DeChambeau, for those that don't know Max on Record.
I don't know. How come Mac has a hard on for Meathead?
I think it's
what is the
general attitude? Okay. Not a consistent. I think it really got bad when DeChambeau threw his golf manufacturer under the bus for his bad first round of the Open because the driver wasn't right.
Yeah. DeChambeau's young. He's young. Hey, listen, Mac. He's young. I was probably 13 or 14 before I became accountable for my actions. So. Give DeChambeau. And DeChambeau's about 11. He's about 10 or 11, so you got to give him a couple more years.
Yeah, but I was always taught that if the driver's not right, you don't get in the car.
Well, is that supposed to be funny? Because if it is, I'll start laughing.
Yeah, that was really funny. Really funny.
That's good. John's got jokes. It's going to be a good show. Is it over almost?
All right, so James Little, we gave him yesterday UCLA's where I was leaning. He likes UTEP and Nebraska. He's going to lock this in.
Nebraska's got the Scott Frost thing. I don't know if it'll have any implications on this game. But
yeah, he's being investigated by the NCAA, and that's worse than being investigated by the IRS.
For practice, yeah, it is.
Listen, IRS isn't near as bad as the NCAA. You can trust. I can actually trust the IRS before I could trust the NCAA, and that speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Well, usually money's involved, I think.
But there's a lot more money. Listen, the NCAA has a lot more money than the IRS.
Well, the age we live in and the stimulus we get and the sloshing around of funds in this economy of ours, I think you're right. Then we have Darmel Castro. He's a new guy, so welcome. And then we have Birdie 832-36688. I'm not sure if that's a phone number or an address.
It's a burner account if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
Tommy Two-Tone.
I like him already.
Telling me that NFL info, John. I have it. Oh, yeah. He wanted to see the stuff I showed like a month ago on this show with the Westgate information, where they have every game, every total, and I'm using that as a benchmark, so that when we get to week 8, whatever game is there in week 8, we can see how much different the line is from now until then, and how markets adjust based on the sentiment and recency bias. I think we'll see it firsthand. Be interesting to see if it gives us any betting opportunities. But some of these lines, with injuries by week 8 and sentiment, could be a full touchdown different than they are now. and that's great because it's very difficult to figure out which games that's going to occur in. But once we get going, you're going to see the sentiment pull certain teams in a negative or positive direction, and many times the market will overshoot that, and you get an overbought or oversold type of reading, and you do the contrary thing, and it can work out pretty well. So we'll have to see. Yeah, so big shout out to the chat room. Thanks. If you guys want any questions, fire away. But DeChambeau's not going to win.
All right, and so while we were talking, Cole Irvin got scratched. Paul Blackburn's in. Paul Blackburn's pitched like 11 innings in 2 years. But he's going to start tonight.
Yeah,
so, Oakland, yanking the lefty. They probably, the White Sox against lefties. Let's yank them and put a righty in there.
So the Phillies, we haven't talked about them for a while. The Phillies lost to Arizona last night. 4-game series, a series that they had to win. Now they put themselves in a situation where they have to win 3 in a row. And I know you're not supposed to ever look at it like that. It's 1 inning at a time, 1 pitch at a time, 1 out at a time. But they have Arizona 6 more games over the next 8. And in my opinion, if they don't win 5 of the 6, I think Atlanta's going to steamroll this division and run away with it possibly before September's even here. We're all thinking that it's going to be a race between the 3 of them, but Arizona, is playing much better, but they're not the team. They're not playing like a team. And when you score 1 run against a team like Arizona with that bullpen. I think you should be put in a closet or put in a corner until you say you're sorry and you can play better.
To the Phillies' defense, the one thing I've said about Arizona all year is that this has really been in my power rankings, I have put Arizona 30th. A couple times, and I may have put them this way, but in truth, they weren't projected to be this bad, or be this incompetent or incapable. And the truth is that they're one of those that have underperformed, or they've had some injuries, and now they will sell. It depends on whether you're a seller or a buyer, obviously at the trade deadline. But long story short is, they just weren't supposed to be this bad. They really weren't. So they're a dangerous kind of a club to face when they're playing loose and free and have nothing to lose against a team that's put themselves in a situation where almost every day is a must-win. It makes it really difficult on a team like Philly, doesn't have a very good history as a visitor, at least not in the last 3 or 4 years.
That's right. I wouldn't be surprised to see Arizona win this series just like they won against the Padres.
Yes, yeah. Pitch a no-hitter, in fact. A debut pitches a no-hitter. As exciting as that kind of thing is, I don't want to be that team. I don't want to be a batter. I don't want to be in the lineup of that game. I don't want my name associated with that. Call it what you want, but it's only happened. How many times has it happened in Major League Baseball history where a guy on his debut pitches a no-hitter? Five?
I think it was
8?
5 or 6.
Okay.
6.
That's not very many, is it? In how many games have we had in the history of Major League Baseball? A couple.
Yeah, like close to 300,000, I guess.
I mean, I thought that seeing a perfect game. I saw the 17th perfect game in the history of Major League Baseball. The 17th. That doesn't hold a candle to what happened in Arizona. I mean, there's only been 5 of them, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
The idea is that everything we said Monday is true, that wild card race stinks. What's a shame for the Phillies is that they tricked themselves into thinking that they were some type of contender. They're 119 games in, and they're only 3 over 500. They're getting beat by the Diamondbacks. The
Yeah.
Padres are on the verge of getting swept by the Rockies. They're down
Yeah.
7-4. Doesn't mean they'll lose, but they're on the verge. And the Reds just got beat twice in a row by a team that had lost 12 games in a row. So they
And hence, why professional sports can get in their own way for the sake of money.
and the Cardinals are still in the race.
And the Cardinals are they're and here's the deal. Like I told you, we had what is it, on Monday when I said, listen, they need to win. They face Pittsburgh. They had those 3 games with Milwaukee, then they play Detroit and Pittsburgh for like 10 games, right? And they need to win 8 of those 10 games against Pittsburgh and Detroit, or they're done. And that's they needed to win at least one of these games against Milwaukee. With yesterday was Burns, today's the GOAT, the greatest of all time, and then Woodruff's tomorrow. So I don't think they win any of them. But I think they win the first 5 for Jesus.
And they'll still be in the same place they were Monday.
Yeah.
Because nobody can gain any ground on them, right? I mean, if they do, if Jack Flaherty was able to win tonight,
Yeah.
they're only 3 games out of the wild card. Should San Diego lose 3 games?
Yeah.
It's just crazy how a team like that could flounder all season long, be counted out for 2 months now, and look up in August, the 3rd week of August, and they're in it.
And play under the season win total and still make the playoffs.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But they all have issues. The Padres' pitching issues are severe. Oh, my goodness. Marching Jake Arrieta out there today was
Well, not only that, it appears Oakland is too right now. And I've always said Oakland was overvalued unless they're playing at the Coliseum. But a little of that came to fruition yesterday when I said, look at this matchup. It screams Oakland should cakewalk, and guess what? They got cake rolled. They got rolled.
Yeah, well,
so
one of your best starters gets hit in the head with 100.
What inning was that? See, I didn't see it. Yeah, I didn't see it, nor have I watched it. I don't. There's no reason to, because I've seen it many times, and I really don't want to. I don't need to see it.
Yeah, if you didn't see it live, you don't want to go back and look at it for sure. No. But I don't know. What was it, guys? It was like
people. I have buddies of mine. I'm sorry. Well, I didn't know what inning it was. I apologize. Yeah.
No, I think it was like the 3rd or the 4th.
Yeah, it was inside 3 innings, I think.
Yeah, I think it was the 3rd. And,
I mean, Joe Theismann, he keeps sending me that same video of his ankle, and I keep telling him, don't send that to me, will you not? I really don't want to see it again.
Well, it was the 2nd inning because he pitched 1 full inning.
He did?
Even sooner.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quick.
And I forget who the batter was, but Levens, I think it was.
It was Brian Goodwin, I think.
Oh, Goodwin.
Goodwin?
Yeah, Levens. That's not even the right team.
What was the exit velocity?
You really want to know?
Yeah, I tell you what.
Well, I don't see it. I was just curious.
It was well over 100.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was just
miles an hour.
Okay. Shame. Like I said, they got to quit. They have to quit letting these guys cork bats, and they got to quit juicing the ball. They still, who knows? Here's the deal: they're not accountable at all for the baseball. They're just not accountable for 2 reasons. One, because they're not a publicly traded company. We don't have to know they don't have to tell us their finances. Anything they do, they really don't have to tell us. And secondly, because they own Rawlings.
Well, I guess that's true. But going back to your no-hitters, if I can segue from that. 300 no-hitters in the history of baseball. All right, so we then have, let me go back to perfect games here. Has anybody had more than 1 perfect game?
Nobody.
Nobody is correct.
Not in my lifetime.
So, perfect games. We have
Number 17.
1,
Witt.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
23 perfect games now. Well,
Yep.
I saw the 17th, and what I saw would have been in 1980. I'm thinking 83. That when
Early?
did Bobby Witt throw his? What year?
Bobby Witt.
At Arlington, in Texas.
That was the
Last day of the
California
year.
Angels. And,
Right.
19. It doesn't gives me this whole thing.
84, 85, 84,
I
83.
actually can't
I'll look it
tell
up.
you. It'll take too long.
It won't
He
take
gave,
me
gave
long.
me his whole career. Standard batting, postseason batting, standard fielding, appearances, Hall of Fame. I don't see it.
I'll find it.
Sclafani hurt his ankle.
Did he really?
Yeah, they pulled him last inning or the inning before, yeah.
Strange day in baseball. It's going to be that way. Watch. Every Cubs starter had a hit against the Reds. That blowout. I mean, I think it's going to be a wild day. But you might get your over, John, in that game. Not the jinx, but you got 3 home runs already in 3-2.
What game is that again?
Top of 4. The one that's in Texas.
Yeah, the one that's in Texas. That was my angle of the day. I didn't know it started. Well, you know, Rob, you know better than anybody how I was in the Oral Roberts situation. I refused to watch it, and you had to tell me what was going on. So
And I
similar.
do not mind. We will scoreboard watch for you, John. No problem.
I hide from the betting gods.
3-2. I see that Circa, whose college football totals were stagnant for a couple of days, are now all bouncing. I see 12 line moves all at once here.
Oh,
I don't-
Top
I want-
25
Six
came out.
string moves. Either they're just cleaning things up because it was stale for a while, or somebody's in there betting the board.
I want to apologize. I don't know. Why did I say Bobby Witt? Mike Witt. Silly me.
Oh, well, Bobby Witt was a pitcher.
I didn't want to correct you like other hosts do.
I'm back on. I did my mic here. Yeah, it was. That was a 1-0 game, guys. It was the last day of the last game of the season. It was appreciation or fan appreciation night in Arlington, Texas, and we went because they were giving away cars and stuff like that on fan appreciation, and we knew there were only going to be about 1,500 people in the stands, which those are good odds to go play. At least be playing Powerball. But Reggie Jackson drove in the only run of the game.
Wow.
Yeah, 1-0 win.
Get him, Reg.
84.
I got your numbers, Tony Finn, and the rest of you will probably find this interesting too. So 300 individual no-hitters. There's a bunch of combined no-hitters.
Yeah.
I'm guessing 15. And then what did I say, 17 perfect games?
No, you said 23 now, I think.
23, okay. So in 146 years of Major League historical totals going back to 1876, there's been 232,377 games. 2,093,709 runs have been scored. There's been 15,716,780 at-bats, all of which Tony Finn has seen.
I have.
There's been 4,110,248 hits, of which Pete Rose has 50% of them.
I missed
Home
one of
runs
those.
of 320,544. Doubles, 699,000. Triples, 142,000, of which Ricky Henderson has half. Stolen bases, 323,000. Innings pitched, 4.1 million. Strikeouts, 2.3 million, of which Nolan Ryan has just about all of them. Walks, 1.45 million, of which Nolan Ryan has most of them. Hits batsmen, there's been 116,749 hit batters. Now, what I thought of right away is I want to know how many of them were intentional and a response to something that happened previous in a game or a previous game that had occurred.
Whose database has that?
Well, I don't know. I'm sure we could figure it out.
Well, I don't know. It's too subjective. It's too subjective to be.
Oh,
here's
73,352 saves, of which Kylie Jensen has .0001 of them. Errors, 541,000 mistakes. Double plays, 401,000. 22,175 players have played at this level. And there has been 806 managers. And Billy Martin was a manager, 4 times? That's amazing, don't you think? And there's only been 23 perfect games. That shows how rare it is.
Yeah. Well, and is that what there is, 23? I was guessing. I thought that's what you said. So
I thought whatever I said.
Okay.
Some truly worthless information there, I guess, huh? Well, you guys know I like that kind of stuff. All right, so why don't we just go around, recap our best bets for the show? Unless there was one area I wanted to cover quickly, is I believe the first AP Top 25 college football poll came out today. Is that what I heard correctly?
All right.
The coaches came out last week.
If I'm right, the AP should be out.
Yep.
Let's see here.
Hard to find. Let's see.
I have the coaches here: Bama, Clemson, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Georgia, A&M, Notre Dame, Iowa State.
Let's see here.
See if there's any differences there. I'm actually going to get off of this and write a ton of college football for the next 2 days.
That up, boy.
I got some I'd like you to write for me too, if you would, please.
What's that?
Some college football for me, so you can save me some time because I'm overwhelmed with work right now.
Oh, to plug this Wager Talk presentation, props to James Bunting and the team. They've got videos up with, I guess, Koken and Drew, and my writing presentation, some other stuff, some charts. The ACC one is up on my Twitter feed, and it's
AP is out.
I'll.
No, I mean I need some stuff written for me.
Well, you can read it. I'm not gonna
No,
write it.
I don't need to read it. I need something written. That's what I just said. I need you to write some stuff for me too.
No,
that
I cannot do.
What a shocker! What a shocker! He said no.
Rob, you said that there was wins totals moving into college football boards, right?
No, the game totals, about 16, 18, 20, I mean, circa right down the line. All their totals moved within the last 10 minutes, all their totals.
Because of the top 25 coming out?
No, I thought maybe it was wins totals it would have been.
I don't know. Somebody just bet them.
Well,
or if they were stale and they just updated the system, maybe the system hadn't updated them for a couple days. I honestly don't know.
That's possible.
When you're staring at the Wager Talk odds screen, sometimes those things don't move for days.
Yeah.
But we see movement now. So
well, there's a lot more love for Oklahoma in the AP poll than there is in the coaches poll. They got 6 first-place votes. They're ahead of Clemson. They're ranked number 2. Alabama, obviously, number 1 in both. Ohio State's 4 in both.
Where's Clemson at?
Clemson is 3 in the AP, 2 in the coaches.
Well, it's really Clemson's I think they're an interesting animal. I'm certain that you guys have discussed it or thought about it, or it's come across your desk, and that is, they play 11 regular season games this year, 11, and their season win total is 10.5.
Who's this? And Clemson?
Huh?
Clemson, you saying?
I'm sorry?
You're saying Clemson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and essentially their season, their playoff bid, if you're on the season win total of over 10.5, it comes down to week 1. They beat Georgia. If you look at the rest of their schedule, it's they're going to have to be smoking some good stuff or fall asleep during the game to be, first off, to be an underdog. They won't be an underdog all year. And that's what it comes down to, Georgia, right?
Yep.
That's all it comes down to,
Nope.
Tone.
Right.
No Miami, no North Carolina.
Correct.
And I guess the toughest ACC game would be at NC State, September 25th. I like NC State this year. They got a lot back. But it all depends on the quarterback, Devin Leary, whether he's going to be any good or not.
So that's the interesting part about Clemson, and essentially, they're not going to have they can't lose. The problem with them is if they lose one of those ACC games, I'm going to guess that that when it comes down to if somebody's actually doing math and giving assigning power ratings to teams and conferences, etc., they may not. If they lose anything, they just aren't going to make it because of basically the strength of schedule or the weakness of schedule. I would think.
Yeah, they could probably lose to Georgia by a
maybe. Well, I would say that would be.
Yeah.
If they lose to Georgia, then what has to happen is
they run the table.
And Georgia probably has to win. Georgia needs not lose any stupid games, and which they somehow sneak in. Because everyone has, or the teams that they're expected to be in that race have a loss to some degree, I guess, right?
Always better to lose early, right, Tone? Because if Georgia
is
defeated and then they play in the MLB title game against Alabama and get beat, they won't.
If you value rankings and seedings, and the same applies to college basketball, right? It's always better to lose early.
Always better to lose early.
Well, Mike. The one question I have for you guys, and anybody can answer this. This is what stuck out to me earlier today when it first came out. North Carolina. So, why is North Carolina 10th in the AP top 25, 10th or 9th in the coaches poll when they do host Miami, who's now 13th. I'm sorry, not 13th. They're 14th in the AP. And a 16th in the coaches poll. So I don't get why they're ranked that high. Like, is Oregon better? Is Wisconsin better than them? Is Florida better than them? USC better than them? LSU?
The North Carolina?
Yeah.
The Sam Howell hype. They got the transfer from.
I don't think Tony or Rob, Tony, Jesus, you guys, don't you agree? Listen, rankings, the initial rankings may be the most unscientific and biased and all subjective and more opinion than anything in the world. The initial ranking, and unfortunately for teams like Clemson and North Carolina, because of what they've done in the last couple of years. I mean, we got to give I think it's fair. We have to give them a little bit of love. I think they lose in week one, personally.
Who, North Carolina?
I do. I think they lose in week one.
Virginia
They
Tech?
haven't won it on the road against Virginia Tech since 1820 or something like that. I don't know. So long. Yeah.
Well, that's September 3rd, and if that's a road game, and then they have.
Let me say, I shouldn't say that. I think they can lose. I think they can lose, and I'm already on Virginia Tech in the points. I'm already on. I got 6.
So how this is my theory here. How in the world is North Carolina going to be a top 10 team at the end of the season when they have at Virginia Tech in week 1?
Yep.
Then they play
they win.
6
They win.
consecutive home games. On October 16th, they play home at Miami, currently number 14 Miami. But then the very next week, they're at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I don't see them winning both games. So then,
then they won't be in the top 10.
It's a preseason ranking. That's all it is.
The real question is, what does it even matter?
That's why this poll means nothing. This poll means. This poll only means it's only important. Listen, it's pretty important to Clemson, because if Clemson's rated 15th right now, they're never anywhere close to the top 5. See?
Yes, it's important to somebody like
That's exactly
Iowa
what I'm
State,
pointing out.
because Iowa State gets to start at number 9.
Right.
And, you want to climb the ranking. But the real rankings don't come out until the 8th week of the season, right? The college football playoff rankings.
Correct.
I mean, I could honestly say that, weeks go by. I can't even tell you what the AP is, honestly. You're looking at your own power ratings and who really cares what the coaches and the Associated Press think. Generally, that's wrong anyway. So it makes no difference. They think North Carolina's good early. I mean, I guess they're going to be favored in a bunch of those games. Tony likes Virginia Tech, but Virginia Tech can't possibly be the favorite. I don't have it in front of me.
No, I'm getting 6 points. I'm getting 6 points, and it's down to 5.5, I think, right now. But yeah.
So
how does Clemson? First of all, what team out of that division can take on Clemson and not get beat by 28 points? And to your point, like about Clemson being in the top 4, if they're playing teams that are viewed then down the road as being not nearly as good as we thought they were, they're going to get hammered in the polls. So you could have Clemson undefeated, barely making it in.
It's very possible.
yes,
If they're undefeated, they'll be in because they have that win over Georgia that they can trumpet all year, and that's really what matters. I think the top 5, especially if you get a top 5 matchup right out of the gate, and rankings matter for teams like my UCF, which got left out, Coastal Carolina, Louisiana,
Cincinnati.
Yep. Well, Cincinnati's really highly ranked. They're top 10 in the coaches. But absolutely, like just for credibility.
Yeah, it's an easier climb if you're one of those teams when you get the start at 10 or like Iowa State gets a start at 9. Cincinnati, I think, gets a start somewhere around 10 or 12. But we heard what Nick Saban said today, that the group of 6 should never even be allowed in the college football playoffs. So there you go. Nick Saban has no affection for any of them.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do?
And Michigan did not make the poll.
No, Michigan's down there in the others receiving vote, right ahead of UCF, at least in the coaches. I haven't seen the
below Liberty.
Liberty's in that mix too.
Yep.
The
36 votes. Michigan only got 12.
And then
those teams have to be that high because they'll get punished for their schedule. That's all. They'll get punished at the end of the year because they play in conferences that the Power 5 don't respect, that the voters don't respect. And so at least if you start at 9, if you're Iowa State and you do beat Oklahoma, you're probably going to have to beat them twice, though, because if you beat them once, you're going to have to play them in the title game.
Yeah, I think that Iowa State's they really, in truth, is there any place for them to go but down? I mean, from what they've done and what they have returned, and it's going to be listen, they've done a really good job with that program, but there's some regression in front of them simply because they're expecting more than I believe Iowa State's capable of, which is a recipe for disappointment.
Yeah, it's Brock Purdy and Breece Hall being back,
right?
And coaches saying, let us hide them in. Cincinnati, same thing. And they're loaded defensively. Indiana was a team that stuck out to me as out of the top 20 non-usual suspects.
I really, Indiana. How did you feel about that? Because I was surprised. I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of guys I respect, pundits that weren't even considering Indiana. They thought that that they didn't believe that they were. They just believed that this year was going to be a lot different for a lot of teams. The Big Ten was they had a pretty strange season last year, but then didn't everybody to some degree. But
right.
I don't know that there was a conference that was more surprising week in and week out than the Big Ten last year. So.
Yeah, and I mean, we did a Big Ten preview, myself and Drew, and inside those previews, they're quick hitters, but they always ask you for a team to fade. And inside that Big Ten East, on a week-to-week point spread basis, I told them I would fade Indiana simply because, and the same goes for a team like Iowa State. Once you get to this level, the elite teams in your conference take you more seriously. Indiana's not going to trick anybody anymore. You're not sneaking up on Ohio State. You're not sneaking up on Penn State and winning 37-36 in overtime. You're not sneaking up on Michigan or any of them that have better recruited talent than you do. Michael Penix Jr. is a great player. Seems to be healthy, but you're just not sneaking up anymore. And now with the expectations, I just look at these point spreads and where the odds makers have these teams power rated, and it seems like Indiana is a little bit inflated off of last year and off of all the hype coming into this year. Iowa State seems to be a little bit inflated. Are they really talent-wise any better than Oklahoma State? Probably not. Oklahoma State might have more talent than Iowa State, but the guy does a great job with schemes and coaching and all kinds of stuff at Ames, right? I mean, they did. Let's face it, they got beat by Louisiana opening day
week
last
1.
year.
Right.
So, You know, it's after
And that's
a
a
while. If you're a team that's come from nowhere and you're toward the top now, nobody overlooks you anymore, and that goes for those. Cincinnati put Georgia right to the fire last year in that bowl game. Now Cincinnati doesn't have the same type of teams in the AAC, but if Cincinnati was out of conference playing anybody in Power 5, they would respect them now because they saw, hey, you guys almost beat Georgia. The same way UCF gets respected now, Boise State gets respected now. Teams bring that.
yeah.
Is there a
And
tougher
San Jose
division
State.
of the conferences? Is there a Power 5? Is there a tougher division than the Big East or Big Ten East division?
Is there a big tougher division?
SEC West. SEC
Yeah.
West has to be
Yeah.
better.
Yes.
All right. I mean, when you're
Well, yeah.
Alabama,
Yeah.
A&M, LSU, Auburn.
Yeah, you could take the second team.
Mississippi State, Ole
You can
Miss.
take the second team off of every team in the SEC. On that, let's say the top 3 teams. Take the second team, and they're a top 5 club. They're a top 5 team in the country. I mean, Georgia. Listen, Georgia's having to kids like Fields are having to leave Georgia and go somewhere else because they can't get a snap.
Okay, so it's the same question as always. A one-loss Alabama SEC champion and Clemson undefeated ACC champion.
Oh, that's a tough debate because when you got Clemson with a win over Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That would
good.
imply that. And if Georgia was a team that beat Alabama,
But there would have to be. It couldn't be just Clemson that's undefeated. It would have to be 3 other Oklahoma would have to be undefeated. Ohio State would have to be undefeated. For
Maybe
Alabama,
I don't want to miss a Pac-12 team, but here's I think there's good evidence. I don't think it's any secret either. But if you've known me or read anything I've written or followed me or listened to me, I say every year the Pac-12 has no right to call themselves a Power 5 conference. That I think the AAC can compete week in and week out with the Pac-12. Now, what's the line in week 1, or is it week 1 or 2 of Ohio State, Oregon? Oregon's head and shoulders, according to pundits, the best in the Pac-12, and they're not in the game.
Yeah, that's not until.
what is the line on that game?
I think 10 points.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's off the top of my head, without doing any analysis, that would be an Ohio State bet. If it's under 10,
I think it is. I agree with you. I think it is. Yeah.
Ohio State's
Now-
better than they were last year.
I get the real talk and the real storyline for the Pac-12 is, of course, UCLA.
Yep.
And all of that mess, that whole mess that is UCLA, started in Oregon.
That's right. You're referring to that whatever it was, 70-74 overtime game?
I'm talking about the head coach who went to
Chip
Oregon
Kelly.
and started an offense that is no longer viable. I mean, it's become a dinosaur, and he's still trying to reach into those bones and find some DNA that works, and it's been a disaster for him since he left. And that it's not. Listen, I'm not saying Chip Kelly's an idiot or anything, but what he walked into there was perfect, and what he did was great, and it was just a perfect storm for him. He set in the eye of that storm and destroyed everything around him, and one thing led to another, and he got to do the Nick Saban thing, but Nick Saban, let's give him a little credit too. I guess he's smarter. He said, "I want out of this shit. Listen, I'm going back. I'm going to go to. They're going to give me money to go to Alabama. Coach, I'm there."
Yeah.
Because Nick Saban wasn't. Listen, Nick Saban didn't get any. You don't see pats on the butt when he was in Miami, coaching the Dolphins. He didn't get too many butt slaps. High fives.
I don't keep track of that in my database.
No, they were pleased when he was gone because I was still down there.
What's that?
They were pleased when he was gone because I was still down there, and his legacy
Oh.
is picking Dante Culpepper. God bless him, because I love him, over Drew Brees.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just think Ohio State, and where I was trying to drive this this part of the segment here was, of those four teams, the Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, in my opinion, despite being in the East, Ohio State is the team that I think of the four that could be undefeated at the end.
Tough conference, too, man, but I wouldn't argue with you. I mean, they can do it. And I want to listen, Tony, Jesse, Rob, and Sir Ryan, Machine Gun Kelly. I apologize, but I just looked down, and I've got an appointment at 2:30, and it's 2:32. So I just want to say, may all the wins be yours.
All right.
Have a good night,
Tony.
Be good.
Thanks, guys. And here's the play. I'm not going to give a free play out because I'm contrary to one of you guys, and I don't want to be a loser because you guys are always right. See you tomorrow.
Peace.
See ya.
You need me to remove you? Oh, he did it. The last couple of shows, I had to remove him. After the show was over, he couldn't get out of the staging area.
I'm writing the Big 12, Rob, and
Yes.
and so team to fade for me is not Iowa State, because I don't want to write them off. Just it's a little easy. It's Texas.
Yeah,
Like they have a young kid, freshman quarterback, true freshman, Hudson Card, and I've never seen him. Maybe he's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. But you've got that combination with Sarkisian. Sarkisian he struggled as a head coach. He had all those weapons as an offensive coordinator at Bama, and expectations are going to be higher than they should be.
There's
Yep,
no
I
question.
agree 100%.
And it's it's kind of a proven. It's kind of, Tony was talking there, but it's kind of the reason why, if you're going to play Ohio State or Alabama, you want to play them when Oregon does. You want to play Ohio State second week of the season because they're breaking in a new quarterback. Everybody is not Justin Fields. We don't know if C.J. Stroud. They've got great receivers. Oh my God, their receivers might be the best in the nation as a tandem. But if you're going to get these guys, you get them early. You get Alabama early. When Bryce Young, he's made $1 million before he took a snap. Who knows? Is Bryce Young Tua or is Bryce Young Mac Jones?
Yeah.
They recruit great, but we don't know, So you can't play those teams late. If you play them late, they're going to murder you by the time they get things rolling. And if they get things rolling right out of the gate, you can forget about it. But, Oregon's got an opportunity simply because Ohio State has to work the new QB in and see if he can get out there and perform the way they need him to. But they got a lot of tools around him. I don't know that it's as bad for Chip Kelly as Tony painted either. I mean, that team played great offense last year. I don't think there was a game where they gained less than 400 total yards. And until
not.
I think the USC game, they had won like 4 in a row against the spread, and then they play USC, and they're winning with 16 seconds left, and they wind up losing that game, which was a crusher. And then, of course, they lose in overtime to Stanford to end the year. But that crazy conference didn't even start playing until – when did they start playing? The Pac-12 was last, right? Weren't they even behind the Big Ten? So, I don't know. It seemed to me like his running game got going last year. They rushed really well. Thompson Robinson seems like he started to throw it a little bit better. Got to play defense, but I don't know if he's destroyed UCLA. I wouldn't go that far to say he's crushed them. Tone, I took the easy way out in the Big 12 when we did that. And I played team to fade Kansas under 1.5 wins.
That is the easy
minus
one.
$1.90. Because what a mess that poor guy steps into, right? Leipold. I mean, he's a great coach, but that's just a bad situation when you have Les Miles in there and they recruited everything to up-tempo spread. I mean, the kid that was running that offense, that high school whiz kid, Dearman, everything was fast, and then you bring in Leipold, who was the exact opposite.
Yeah, he wants
Let's
to
run
run
the ball. Let's play defense, and now he had no chance to recruit. Right, he didn't even get the job until after spring practice was over. And then it gets a domino effect too, real quick, because Buffalo, as good as they were last year, as soon as he left, they lost 20 kids off that team. 20 kids went into the transfer portal and followed him right to Kansas. So, I don't know.
Well, so you said under 1.5 wins for the season?
Yeah.
Let me pull up their schedule real quick just to
When
see.
you look at their schedule, you'll see one. You'll see
possible outcomes.
There, I got it. We got the South Dakota count.
I'm not. They do, and I gave him South Dakota. And South Dakota, knowing the FCS a little bit, is not even all that easy.
Yeah, it's not
out
for sure.
Missouri Valley. But I gave him that one. Now I have to give him another one. I can't find it.
Yeah, West Virginia is going to be tougher. Could they beat K-State with their best game? Yeah, potentially. And obviously, you're going to lose to Coastal. So yeah, I could see that. At Duke, that's not easy. And then all the other games are tough conference games. So.
Yeah, because the Big 12 plays everybody, right? They don't skip.
Right, they go round robin.
So the number was crazy. It was like 1.5 wins minus 190. I'm like, well, they're not going to win 2 games. I don't know how this guy can put something together in the mold that he wants it to be, in his coaching philosophy and his style with the talent on hand. I just don't know how he can do it. He's so far behind the 8 ball. A couple of years from now, a couple of recruiting classes, I think he's a good pick for the job, but it's going to be tough. That league doesn't get any easier, right? The Big 12, those teams are all decent.
Yeah, they are. TCU is supposed to be more experienced. West Virginia, same thing. Best team Neil Brown's had there. So
I give you a couple of quotes I got from whatchamacallit, Gundy. Gundy, look at all these are all these conference notes. I save them all. It's ridiculous. All handwritten horseshit. Mike Gundy, here's what he said about his team real quick. It's the fastest defense I've ever had since I've been at Oklahoma State. Quarterback Spencer Sanders made a huge leap, as big as any I've seen out of one of my quarterbacks during spring practice. Our offensive line is markedly better. That was because I was looking to do over their win total. If you really push it, I think you might be able to say 8, and that would get it over. But he had a lot to say. He's one of those coaches that when he talks, you can listen because he's open and honest. It's not coach speak. You don't have to read between the lines,
right.
And they're not toeing the company line. But when he tells you it's the fastest defense he's ever had, his quarterback, and he's a quarterback's coach, he's hard on those guys. Sanders made a huge leap, as big as any. His offensive line is better. He expects to win. And that's why teams like Iowa State that are getting all the publicity, and this team is running a little under the radar. Even when you said Texas, right? Oklahoma State almost – did they beat Texas last year? They came close, I know. They might have even beaten them.
I don't have anything in front of me on that.
OT.
Sanders was wishy-washy last year, so that's interesting to hear. If he's made a leap, that could be – Chuba's obviously gone. He's in the pros.
He had a big run in preseason the other day. I saw him.
Yeah.
Tylan Wallace is gone, right? But
right.
You never you don't worry about OSU's running backs and receivers ever. But that Sanders got hurt, and they went to the freshman right off the bat. So at least at quarterback-wise, if Sanders were to get hurt again, they're experienced. So I don't know. It's just there's always a lot with these teams that nobody talks about that you have to go dig up while the AP top 25 tells you. I don't know. It just seems like general surface knowledge.
That's true.
The AP top 25. Jesse, dude, I mean, I totally cut you out of this show, man. I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay. I haven't been doing my college football homework to the same degree that you guys have. But I was a little surprised with Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I don't know how anybody figures they rank them ahead of Clemson. Like you say, if Clemson can beat Georgia in week 1, they're probably going to be undefeated. Spencer Rattler, looks like he's got a lot of talent, but maybe a little emotional at times. Maybe not the kind of not. I don't know. I don't see Oklahoma as a national champion. I don't see them as the number 2 ranked team in the country.
Yeah, I mean they'll have a tough schedule in front of them. I mean it won't be easy, that's for sure.
They seem to be a team that has a tough time living up to expectations based on past performance.
I saw Rattlers number 1 in all mock drafts for next year. Maybe that played some into it. Because it is Veno is absolutely right. Surface knowledge, and you go with what you see coming back. I think Phil Steele
system for quarterbacks.
I think Phil Steele loves their offensive line, from what I was reading. Rated them.
Here's they finally made a good decision there at Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley decided, you know what, I can win the Big 12. But, it's like Clemson, Ohio State, and everybody that's chasing Alabama for these rings, right? What they're worried about now is not winning a conference. We want to win the whole thing. So they finally decided that, the separator between SEC and all these other conferences is the depth of and the quality depth of rotation on defensive lines. Like Alabama rolls 8-9 guys in and out. Auburn rolls 8-9 guys. LSU. And finally, Lincoln Riley came to the conclusion that I need 8 or 9 of these guys, and I know I can recruit, so let's go and find them. And they feel like they have, because their problems are on defense. Let's face it, they can score with anybody, but it's when it comes to stopping people that count, where they haven't been up to snuff. And we'll see. I mean, according to him and his defensive coordinator, they think they're better front seven. They can hold up. Stand up at the line of scrimmage with the big boys. We're going to find out. But at least they made the right decision. Finally, they're going in the right direction. Let's just recruit really, really talented defensive linemen and get 10, 11 of them like Alabama does.
I mean, they look like a 10-0 start because it's Tulane, Western Carolina, Nebraska, West Virginia, Kansas State, Texas, TCU. TCU is probably the toughest out of those. Kansas, Texas Tech. And then at Baylor gets you to 10-0, and then you have Iowa State at home and Bedlam in Stillwater. Well, I mean, that's manageable. And then they'll play, I guess, the conference championship game.
Right. That's the savior, too, because they get to play a conference. The Big 12 for years didn't have that game, and they're left out in the cold. Nobody can watch them on Championship Saturday. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. You can't screw up along the way anymore. Like we were all saying about Clemson. If you have a season over-under ticket, Clemson over 11.5 wins or under 11.5 wins, you can either cash that or throw it in the garbage after that Georgia game. One's going to win. Either they're going to go over or under as soon as that game is over. So OU kind of in that position, but not quite. Their road is always bumpier because those teams are – you go to Morgantown and Lubbock and these places, and anything could happen. But Sarkisian, who knows? You're going to get a real feel for whether he can head coach or not.
Yeah, I've never been a fan. I mean, I give him props for what he did last year with Alabama. That was impressive. But he also had pros everywhere.
Yeah, well, and Texas, they can still recruit. But, John, in answer to your question before about which – division could be even better than the Big Ten East when you were asking it. I mean, I think the answer becomes real simple when you have people now saying, well, how are, Oklahoma and Texas are going to the SEC. How are they ever going to compete in the SEC? And that's Oklahoma and Texas. So imagine if you're in the Big Ten East and you're Rutgers or you're Michigan State, or how are those teams ever going to compete in the SEC? It would never happen. The bottom of Indiana would never make it. It wouldn't survive in that league. So maybe only Ohio State and potentially Penn State would be able to do anything in that league other than, Michigan, I don't know what Harbaugh did up there, but it ain't great.
Well, he cleaned house with his coaching staff, and Penn State went past him in recruits of 4- and 5-star recruits, but they still trail Ohio State by a ton. So it's amazing that Harbaugh's still there, to be honest with you. He hasn't beaten Ohio State once.
Right.
None of the games have even been close. So it's not the days of Woody Hayes and Schembeckler, is it?
No, and I always see that as a sign of desperation when these coaches start getting rid of coordinators and coaching staff. Like, let's try something new because otherwise my ass is going to get fired. So let's just throw you out, bring you in, and a lot of times.
He's still there because they don't want to get rid of him, and nobody else seems to want him.
Right.
The Penn State offensive coordinator is new, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I think they're really like a potential wild card in that East because they have an offensive line, they have a better ground attack than they did last year, and last year you throw it out the window anyway. But 2 years ago this season I think it's going to be better, and you have Clifford, the quarterback, who now has experience. Dotson,
was really
wide
hit or miss
receiver.
last year.
The wide receiver core is much deeper. They did lose the tight end, but I just think that's a team that might be overlooked just a hair. I'm not saying they're super undervalued, but who else are you going to talk about, honestly, in that division to beat Ohio State? They're the only ones that could be in the conversation.
I'm 100% behind you because I've banged the table for Penn State more than once the last month, but the offensive coordinator there is Mike Yurcich. Mike Yurcich used to work for Mike Gundy. Then he went to Texas. He's got my favorite offensive coordinator quote of all time. When he got the job at Texas last year, it was the first time he got named game day play caller because when he was at Oklahoma State, Gundy calls the plays. But he got the job at Texas with Tom Herman. Tom Herman said, you call the plays. And I was doing some work last year, and I run across his quote. And he says, calling plays really gets me off. And I was like, he was a fantastic offensive coordinator at Oklahoma State, even though Gundy called him. And he was really good at Texas last year, and he's the best offensive coordinator Franklin's had there. He keeps losing them. James Franklin keeps on losing them. They're all over the country. But this guy's the best. And the kid Dotson at wide receiver is an NFL first-rounder. And Noah Cain, the running back, got hurt last year, and he's back. So I agree with you. I think that if there's a team, I forget if they play Ohio State at home in a whiteout or
it's
if they
at
go
home.
to Ohio State this year.
I'm going to double check, but I'm almost positive it's at home.
If it's at home, one of those whiteouts, I think I remember it being that,
Well, the last time they beat him, it was a block punt for a touchdown in the fourth quarter that led to the Penn State victory.
It's in Columbus, October 30th.
It's in Columbus, so that is not great. But, again, we're dealing with point spreads.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be 13 or 14.
If you're getting 14 with Penn State on the road, it's kind of hard to overlook. You know, the kid that was playing backup quarterback last year, that Will Levis, got the starting job at Kentucky this week. So they lost their backup, but he's starting at Kentucky. So I guess the fact that they chose Clifford, who, like Tony said, he's kind of spotty. Man, I wish he would be more consistent. Like, at least McSorley was consistent every week, when they had him. But
they got Wisconsin right out of the gate.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Yeah.
Yep. That's huge. But like these guys said in the beginning of the show, though, if you're going to lose early. So for both those teams, it's not going to be the end of the world if they go home with a loss. It would be more so for Wisconsin because it's in Wisconsin, right?
Yes, Camp Randall.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that if you lose that game, you can't lose again. And Penn State still has at Columbus after that, so they can't lose twice and go anywhere except the Citrus Bowl. So, it's big for both of those teams. Somebody's gonna get, sent into the losers bracket real fast.
Yeah, and that's the pressure. Then you have to win. You have to win out. Florida State did that how many times under Bobby Bowden, where they lost to Miami with a wide right field goal, and then they were behind the 8 ball the whole rest of the way. But the Big Ten has 5 teams in the top 25, as does the SEC. Not saying that's equal, and Big 12 has 3.
I know you brought it up the other day, Tony, when you were talking about Nebraska and Illinois, and that's a Big Ten game right out of the chute, as is Penn State and Wisconsin. I don't have the schedule in front of me. Is the Big Ten playing itself all the way through in Week 1? Are they just making Week 1 a conference week, or are some of those teams not playing conference foes?
I would say no, but let me double check. No, maybe Ohio State's got Minnesota. Maryland has
West Virginia.
Okay, well that wouldn't be it.
Yeah, so
that's not.
But it looks like most of them will be.
Yeah, that's a big thing right off the bat to say. I mean, Minnesota. There you go. They're at home. PJ Fleck and his row the boat. I think he's getting 13.5, 14, and CJ Stroud first game out of the box on the road in that place. I don't think Ohio State's going to lose, but if Minnesota was playing them in Week 10, you wouldn't even consider Minnesota in Week 10.
Michigan State's got Northwestern.
There you go.
Michigan's got Western Michigan, so that doesn't count. And Purdue's playing Oregon State. That would be interesting. But yeah, a lot of Big Ten games early. All right, guys, let's do this thing because I got to go right.
Yeah, let's just do the picks to repeat what your free pick was for the show because I think most of you guys already had given it out. I did want to include. I had Bobby Kravitsky of Sports Map Radio. They have a great show, the Diehards, on Thursday and Friday nights, that I was lucky enough to get invited to, and I reciprocate with him coming on. So he was looking at wins totals in the NFL under 6.5 Jacksonville. Thought Jacksonville was just going to not be anywhere close to where people think, and Urban Meyer's going to struggle at this level, and it's not going to. He actually predicted that it's not going to last that long in terms of seasons. Steelers, and this is my favorite one of his win totals, over 8.5. Washington Redskins under 8.5, and I said Jacksonville. Then we have the Boston Yankees game. This is Jesse. No, this is Tony Mejia, right? Over 9.5. Then we have Jesse Schul, Cardinals first 5 minus $1.40, right?
Plus a half.
Then we have this must be John Ryan. So Phil Mickelson in the golf, top 10, 9-1. Maverick McNeely, top 10, 9-1. Adam Scott to win, 40-1. And obviously Morikawa to win at 18-1. So those, I'll keep the golf record separate from our show record, which is 33-17, because it makes no sense because I'm putting not even close to 1 unit on those PGA bets. It's pizza bet, so we'll have a pizza bet record. Actually, that's a good idea because we could put prop bets in there too when we feel like it. Yeah. It's a catch-all for anything that shouldn't be more than a pizza. And Rob Veno, what was your pick?
I had St. Louis and Milwaukee under 7 full game.
St. Louis, Milwaukee under 7. I can tell you right now,
Tony Finn exited with Freddie Peralta in his pocket. He loves Freddie Peralta.
Yes, he does.
Shouldn't, but that's why he wouldn't give out Milwaukee, because Jesse and I both had a part of that St. Louis-Milwaukee game, and he wasn't going to contradict.
And Wager Talk just has our first 5 picks out, so they're available on the Wager Talk feed.
Nice.
That's
I
good.
saw your thing on Slack this afternoon. All I see is a still of Veno staring back at me.
Yeah, it was. It was like because I guess they messed up our codes. I don't know, but and instead they just say, okay, go now because I can't hear anybody. It's like, count yourself down. All right.
Good stuff.
Let's do it.
So well, I still need runs in the Toronto game, so anybody who wants to usher up prayers to the betting guys, I'd be eternally grateful.
Yeah, I'm just seeing that now. Okay.
Oh, wow, no runs since the 3rd, huh?
And I just saw this, and I'll mention it. The Giants are winning 1-0. The Mets have 2 more at-bats. The Mets are plus 400 right now with pizza money, and why not?
They're really responding to their owners.
Why not? Today, huh? Oh, yeah.
I got the Giants in that game. That's the why not for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the National League East, you have the Mets not scoring. You have the Phillies losing last night to Arizona and Phoenix. And the Braves are 5 in a row.
Yeah, they're doing the right thing. They're doing the right thing.
Yep.
40-cent move on them today from $2 all the way to minus 240 in a couple of spots. Crazy.
And Seattle is still in there, too. They're 4.5. They're tied with Toronto for the second wild card. So, they're not being talked about in the playoff circles at all. We'll have to pick a different playoff wild card. We'll have to go to the AL and just bag the National League next show. So, for all of you guys, thanks for your time. I appreciate Jesse Schull, too, because he gives his family various shopping cards to go out and have a good time while he hangs out with us. And that's pretty admirable,
It really is.
But I don't, shopping in Vancouver's got to be fun.
My wife's pretty happy with the arrangement. She wants me to do more shows.
Yep, and I'm glad that worked out. So anyway, thanks for your time, guys, and have fun writing Tony Mejia. And make sure you go to wagertalk.com and check out their picks, their subscriptions. And also, I believe the news articles that are being written, most notably Tony Mejia mentioned the Big 12 article, is on wagertalk.com/news. And it's all great stuff. And then you have Ralph Michaels in the Gold Sheet with the college football free resource and the NFL free resource. And they're two incredible resources. I think all of us use them. And you don't have to give your credit card. Nobody's going to call you and badger you to buy the game of the year because we don't do that kind of nonsense. So make use of it and make yourself a better handicapper. So for Tony, Rob, Jesse, Tony Finn, myself, and Tony Finn's microphone, may all the wins be yours.